This is Robert here with Fresno's Kool Design. I'm doing an assignment for my business class at Fresno City College. I have the pleasure of having Ian here. He's with Fresno Ag Hardware. He's a very professional person. He does well, and he's helming this business right now. So I'm here. I'm going to pick at his mind a little bit, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. So Ian, how did your business start?
Well, it started back in 1876. An Irish immigrant named James Porteous came to America, and he actually got a job as a blacksmith and handyman, really, at a business called J.B. Williams, which was actually located on the Fulton Mall. He worked there for about 5 years, and he just grew the business exponentially to the point where he's like, I need to buy this business and expand it because the boss is just not doing a good job, right? So he bought the business, this is, I guess, in 1876, changed it to Fresno Agricultural Works. He moved it to Tulare and L Street and turned it into an empire, essentially. He was responsible for, I think, almost 200 inventions, one of which was the Fresno scraper, which is probably the most revolutionary product back in the day for plowing your fields. It was used to not only plow fields, but they used it to carve out the Panama Canal, and they also used it in World War I. So it was a very essential piece for farming and just plowing in general. So he owned it up until his death in 1922, and then his kids took over. And then from 1922 to about 1952, his kids owned it. And then my grandfather, who was actually an Italian immigrant, came here with his family from Italy. And they, he grew up dirt poor, flew B-17s in World War II, just doing whatever he could for his country, his love of country. Started at Fresno Agricultural Works as a janitor.
Wow.
Worked his way up, and he bought the business just like Mr. Porteous had done way back when. So my grandpa purchased the business in 1952, and it's still owned today by my grandma and myself, my mother, my uncle, and my stepdad. We all kind of run this business.
Dang, yeah, and it's quite an empire you got, man. That's quite remarkable. For
142 years this year.
42 years, yeah.
And it's amazing how we've shifted gears as the city grew around us. We decided we weren't much of a farming company being in the middle of the city. We're actually now a hardware store. So the name is a little deceiving, but we feel like if we change the name, we'd just be kicking ourselves, in the shins because it's such a great name and an historic name. We can't change it now. So we're a hardware store. We got 12 departments. We do everything from paint to sporting goods to plumbing, even sell pool supplies, and everything in between.
Nice, dude. Yeah, 12 sections. That's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Where do you see your company from 5 to 10 years from now? Now that you kind of...
Well, right now we're growing tremendously. We've actually just saw the biggest growth we've ever seen in 2017. It was the best year we've ever had, which...
Congratulations.
We're very blessed that we're still able to put out numbers. We have over 80 employees right now. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to start seeing Fresno Ag expand to other communities in the valley.
Nice.
We're going to be concentrating on two types of business models, because we obviously can't replicate what we have here because it's so dynamic and so unique. So what we're going to concentrate is we're going to start these little stores, little express-style stores. Maybe put one in downtown Fresno. Maybe put one up in Friant. We're talking stores that are, 15,000 square feet or smaller. What we would also like to do is go out more to the countryside, get back to our roots, start doing more farming equipment.
Definitely, yeah. The Fresno scraper.
Exactly. I don't know if we're going to bring it back because obviously they've made a little bit of advancements since then. They're no longer using a donkey, but
Yeah. But hey, the next Fresno scraper, the next Fresno thing that you can contribute to this.
So that's where we're headed. We're hoping for multiple locations and, of course, getting our online presence more noticeable and maybe even start selling instead of just regionally, hopefully statewide, and then maybe one day nationally.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Dang, that's cool, man. Well,
you
guys got a good shop going on right now. It's a spacious store. We'll probably throw in some footage that we took of your store.
Absolutely.
But that's great, man. That's great that you're looking forward to that in the next 5 to 10 years. But so that brings me to my next question. To get employed here, what do you got to do? How do I wear the nice embroidery uniform? How do I?
Well, there's two ways. We obviously, you can apply online. All those applications come right to either myself or other management personnel, so we can review them right away. But we actually prefer if people do it old school. You know, we prefer the face-to-face interaction. We want to talk to you. You know,
Yeah.
we figure people in Fresno, they're actually people. They're not a number. They're real people and real humans.
Yeah.
And since the majority of this business is predicated, the success is predicated around customer service, we need to make sure that we're dealing with someone who's not only knowledgeable, but they're also they're not only knowledgeable, but they're also customer friendly, and that they can interact with people in a calm and collective way. Because most of the time when people come in here, they're coming in because they're in a pickle or they're in an emergency, right? They're coming in here, they're frantic because the toilet's leaking and they've got water everywhere, and
Okay.
they don't want to call a plumber, so they come to Fresno Ag, and we need to make sure that when they come into that department, the man or woman working that department can assist them the best they can, not only get the parts that they need, but also be friendly and make sure that they know Fresno Ag has their back. So, kind of go back and answer your question. We hire. A little bit is knowledge. We definitely like people who have a little bit of knowledge.
Definitely,
in their respective departments. But the character, in my opinion, is what probably the single most important thing is. I can train anybody to work in a department, but you can't train somebody to be a person that that they're not.
Yeah.
If they're naturally a grumpy person, but they have a ton of knowledge in electrical, they probably won't fit in here because we have a reputation to uphold, and that's what we're all about.
Nice, man. Hey, I appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. So that brings me even to my other question. I gotta ask you, customer satisfaction. How do you define that? What makes you go home and sleep at night knowing that you've made your customers happy?
Well, okay. So how I started at the very bottom, because that's how my grandpa started. Like I said, he was a custodian for the original store, right? So I was given no favors. I was treated as any entry-level employee would be treated. So I started out stocking shelves, and I worked my way up. But what I learned just by stocking shelves and being on the front lines and dealing with customers, what helps me sleep at night is knowing that I am able to help people with whatever it is that they're doing. There's no greater feeling than knowing that that I solved somebody's problem, whether it's a big problem or a small problem, and the joy that they get and the appreciation that they reciprocate back to Fresno Ag.
Yeah.
No better feeling, because I always tell everybody, all the employees, including myself, I'm not the boss. Even Mrs. Rosetta, the owner of Fresno Ag Hardware, she's not even the boss. The boss is the customer who has chosen to come and shop at Fresno Ag, instead of going to the big box stores, like Homes or
Lowe's, yeah.
Lowe's or Home Depot or Orchard. They decided to drive past all those businesses and come to here. And why? Why do they want to do that? And hopefully it's because we're able to solve their problem and get them what they need. So that's what makes me that's what helps me sleep at, and that's what I think customer service is all about. Is just being able to help people and empower people. I have this philosophy. So if I can teach somebody how to fix their sink, right? If they have a leaky sink and they come in, they don't know a thing about leaky sinks or faucets in general. If I can teach them how to fix a sink and they go home and they do that, I've just empowered that person to maybe consider, okay, I just fixed my sink. I'm going to try and fix my toilet. I'm going to try and fix that busted outlet. I'm going to fix my doorknob, right? So I'm empowering people to teach them how to take care of their home.
Yeah.
And so on a bigger scale, they end up taking care of their homes, right? They work from the inside, then they work to the outside. So they start doing gardening, and they start making their grass look green, and they start putting out irrigation, right?
Yeah.
So that's one person's home. But then the neighbors see that, and they're like, whoa, that family over there is really taking care of their home. Like, maybe I'm going to go talk to that person, see what they're doing. And then they say, oh, I went to Fresno Ag, they made it super easy. I was able to get everything I needed, and they even taught me how to do it. And then those neighbors fix up their home. And then the entire street sees that, and then the next thing you know, you have an entire neighborhood that looks good, and their property values are going up. And what I would like to see is that spread throughout Fresno. And it all starts by helping, one person.
Yeah.
And if that one person can affect hundreds other, then we're doing something right here.
Yeah. Dang, that's beautiful, man. That's some next level stuff right there. But you know what? That's pretty interesting that you mentioned that, because that actually brings me to my next point, which is it seems like you have a lot of your focus towards the customer satisfaction. That's what separates you from your business. And I can see that, because I don't shop at Osh. I don't shop at any other place, because they're gonna point and tell me, hey, it's over there, go get it. But when I walk in here, I'm greeted with a smile. I know almost everyone here.
Right.
And so my next point is how other ways do you find separating yourself from the competition?
It's a good question. So forever we've been known as having the most oddball stuff, right? There's some houses in Fresno that were built, early 1900s. We're talking 1910. There's some old hardware in there.
Yeah.
Some of it doesn't even exist, right? What we've been known for is and sometimes things do become obsolete, and it's hard to find a replacement product for something that was built back in 1901, right?
Yeah.
But what we're really good at is improvising and figuring out things and making it work. So I would say the product selection for sure separates us from Lowe's and Home Depot and Orchard and any other hardware store, because we're not afraid to carry the really oddball stuff. All the time we hear, oh, I went to 6 different places and nobody had these, and sure enough, we have it there sitting on the peg. It might cost us a little bit more just in holding costs. If we're only selling one a year, is it really paying for its space? But if you look at the person who is buying it, so they buy this part that we only sell one a year of, right? But they forever remember that they got it from Fresno.
Yeah.
Like, I drove so many places and I could not find it anywhere. So they buy that part that maybe cost them $10, right? But then when they come to fix something else in their house, or maybe buy like a luxury product like a barbecue or something, they're going to think of us first.
Yeah.
Because they know that we have it, and that we had people here who could help them with it.
Yeah, who are knowledgeable, who are talented, or real friendly as well.
So
you can't really beat that.
Yeah, so circle back is we have a great product selection. We have the latest in home security technology. You can buy a Nest thermostat here, but you can also buy the one that was popular in 1950s, the round circular ones that still clicks. We carry we cater to everyone. There's no age demographic that we specifically target. We literally cater to all walks of life, all ages.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there, man. Dang. So then I gotta ask too. So being a manager here, what is your managing style? How do you carry about? Maybe give us a little bit on your day-to-day operations, if you like to.
So I, on a day-to-day, I directly work with our 10 department heads. We have 10 departments, but 10 department heads oversee, the vast majority. So what I do is I help them work smarter and not harder.
Okay.
Right? So I feed them information that they can use to make smart decisions, because I try and be a hands-off type manager for the most part.
Okay.
My degree that I received at Fresno State is in entrepreneurship. So the way I try to treat my department heads is, hey, treat this department as if it's your own business. I'm going to give you a budget every month. I'm going to tell you where you're at as far as sales comparable to last year or whenever you want to know. I'm going to give you the information to you to make good decisions. So that's my primary job. Now I also oversee the other, I guess you could say, 70 employees as well. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm people's HR. I am.
Okay.
I'll jump on a cashier register. I'll work a department. I'll fix up our website. I'll do advertising. I do a little bit of everything. And my primary focus is working with my 10 department heads to make sure they have all the information they need to do their job correctly.
Cool. Okay. And so that leads me to my next question. How do you think your managing style doing that affects the way your business works, like the operation of your business? How do you think that plays out then? Because everyone has their own different styles.
I know. And if you look on a on a graph as far as like being an authoritarian or a very laissez-faire type person, I'm more to the I'm more to the laissez-faire. I feel empowering empowering my department heads to take ownership of their department. They're not going to look at it as, oh, this isn't mine. I just work for this company on the name list. No, it's actually your department, and you're responsible. In some cases, over $1 million worth of inventory. So, if I feel like if they feel they are responsible and have ownership in that department, it's better for everybody. I feel they'll make better decisions.
That's interesting.
It's just the kind of the way that I was brought up. Take ownership in what you have, and I also, working my way up and being the department head of hardware, which is the second most profitable department in the entire store, and has over 16,000 active SKUs. An active SKU is something that sells at least once a year. I was managing that, and by me taking ownership of that department, it made me feel more tied to my job, and it made me feel more, responsible for it. So I think that's primarily that's why I have my management style the way it is. Of course, I'm not like this lax person and I don't allow people just to walk all over me. If I see something wrong, I'm going to make sure it's known. But I try to, like I said, give them enough information to these people as best they can so they can make the best decisions.
Definitely. Dang, that's good. So I think I got a few more questions, but we should be able to wrap it up in a little bit. But I think my next question is gonna be, let me check this out. How do you handle payroll? Because you did mention you have about 80 employees, so that sounds like quite a big payroll. So do you outsource it? Do you do it in-house?
Yeah. So we process the payroll in-house. We have an accounts payable personnel in the office, and she's great. She takes care of all of our bills, and what she does is she plugs in the information to our payroll processing people, I guess you could say. And we outsource it to a point, because we do a little bit of things that aren't really conventional here when it comes to payroll. So, for instance, everyone in California law, you're entitled to build up sick time, and of course, that's not a problem. But we go above and beyond that, and we allow PTO, which is partial paid time off, and it can grow the longer that you're here. The quicker it can grow. So there's some formulas in their system that's set up the way that any other business would be. But we try to give our employees who have been with us a long time even more of an incentive to stay with us by allowing them to build up paid time off quicker than, say, the new person who just started yesterday. The guy who's been here 20 years is going to be able to build those days up quickly or quicker than the new people.
Nice, okay.
So, just little things like that. But for the most part, we plug in all the information here, send it out, and then one day later, all the checks come in and we hand them out. It's as easy as that. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Dang. 80 people, man. That's some cool stuff right there. So, let's see. I actually still have a few more. So, what is the structure of your business?
As far as the hierarchy?
Yeah, organization. Yeah.
Sure. So there's not too many levels to this place. There's, of course, at the tip of the pyramid is Mrs. Rosetta. She is the sole owner of the business. And then just below that, you have myself, Mike Kimball, Pat Marchese, and my mother. So we basically are the driving forces of the business, especially Mike, Pat, and myself. We kind of see we kind of look beyond the horizon. We're trying to figure out what's our next best thing that we can do for the business. So that's essentially second level. Below that, we have our store managers, which is technically what I am, but
Okay.
I float back and forth between the realms, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Comes with the name.
yeah, below that is our department heads. Below that is our sales staff. There's not, it's not too many. It kind of keeps things simple. There's different positions once you get inside the departments. Of course, there's like an assistant department head and
cashiers and stuff.
Of course, cashiers. But
for the sales.
For the most part, it's a pretty straightforward, simple organization. We try not to make things too corporate-y.
Yeah.
That's boring. We want it to stay simple and yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then I want to ask one last question. I want to know, Ian, what was your educational background? So if you want to go and elaborate a little bit on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually went to Fresno City and the Clovis Center, and I transferred to Fresno State, and then there I received a Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship. It's a business degree, and so I enjoyed pretty much my entire career at school. I always really liked school. I enjoyed, especially the business aspect. It was kind of funny, working in a business and having a little bit of insight to how things operate. Being a part of the family, we would talk about these certain topics in class, and I'm like, oh wow, I do that, but now I know what it's called. It's funny because these things that we do that we thought were unique to us, it's like no, that's actually a pretty common practice in the business world. So I learned a lot in school, but I believe the best teacher is actually being hands-on. You can study theory and you can study different ways of doing things in a book, but nothing will give you the experience like actually working somewhere and actually implementing what you're learning at school.
Yeah.
And so I always joke, I'm like, I went to Fresno City and the Clovis Center and Fresno State, but I also went to the University of Fresno Ag as well. That's just kind of like the ongoing joke here. Everyone who comes in that we hire, I'm like, not only are you going to have a job, but you're going to gain an education here because you're going to learn something new every day, whether you want to or not. It's like people come in here for a million different reasons, and some of them are repetitive, and you'll figure it out. But then some of them are completely unique to that person.
Scratch on the head.
and it takes some critical thinking to figure out the problem and address it and make sure that they go home, a happy camper.
Dang. Okay. Dang. Well, I appreciate you sharing your insight on your business here at Fresno Ag. They're here on First and Gettysburg. They've been here, they've been in many different locations, but they've been here serving us for how many years now?
So, overall, 142 years, but 10 years at this location. 10 years this June.
Yeah, so First and Gettysburg, Fresno Ag, Ian, I'd like to thank him for
Thanks for coming by. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. This is a wonderful place you have, and there's always something new to learn, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to come in, and I hope I offered some good insight on what I do.
Yeah, man, I got some stuff I can write. So.
Very good.